Please stand. I want to welcome everyone here in person, also on our Zoom meeting. Lester Stewart will lead us in the national anthem, Mark Norris flag.
Sing with us. Try to hike all the place. Where's our man? You got it. We'll do it Acapulco. Okay. Ready?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lester Stewart also will have our
Now join me in our prayer. Oh, but before I pray, I don't know that if you're aware or not, but this day at this time in this area and throughout the world, Rotarians are doing what you're doing now. I've had the pleasure of worshiping in Russia. They do the same thing you did. South America, the same way. England, same way. So you are part of a great group of people who are concerned about service above self. Let us pray. Dear God, for this day and for all the blessings that come with it, we thank you. We thank you especially for those who continue to serve our police forces, our sheriff's office, our legal officers, the hospital, the nurses, the doctors, all of those who give of themselves. We thank you for Rotary itself and for those years past who felt the need to bring people together to discover civic and other responsibilities that have involved people's involvement. Grant us the peace that comes through your love. Forgive us when we fail to do things that we know we should. For it's in thy name that we do pray.
Amen.
thank you, Dr. Lester.
Do I have something else?
We thought we'd just let you go ahead and speak. Thank you. Family of Rotary, Cynthia Green.
Oh my goodness. Good afternoon. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
I tell you what, I was sitting at that back table today and when people walked in, if some of you didn't read your newsletter, you were probably a little surprised that our meeting today was about the University of Alabama. And so a lot of you Auburn, Florida, Georgia fans were tapping me on the shoulder and said, is this the way it's going to be? Of course, I liked it like that. But anyway, we are delighted that you are here today. And this is the time in our meeting where we recognize Rotarians who are having birthdays this week and anniversaries. So take a moment this week to say happy birthday to Adam Williams, who is in our Outlaw Club. President Greg Hendricks on September the 3rd. So happy birthday early. Miss Rosemary on September the 4th. That's Rosemary McKibben. Chris Pruitt, September the 5th, getting a year older. Mr. Jerry Atkinson, September the 5th also, and Cal Whaley, September the 9th. And for those couples celebrating anniversaries, Miss Donna Tomley and her husband Jeff on August the 31st, and Joseph Johnson and Hope celebrating on September the 6th. So happy anniversary and happy birthday.
Dr. Michael III, introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians. A long walk.
All right, good afternoon, Rotarians. My name is Dr. Michael C3. I'm super excited to be here to present our guest for today. We're so happy to welcome our guests and visiting Rotarians. When I call your name, would you mind standing? As I call your name, remain standing until we give you a round of applause. One, we have Linda Hendricks, Jim and Joanne McGee, Amy Dixon, their guests of Greg Hendricks, our president, Major Linda Payton, guest of Walter Hill, Archie Solomon Jr., guest of Art Solomon, Lynn Cole, she's guest of the club, Mark Foley, guest of the club, our Honorable Mayor Mark Saliba, guest of Dean Mitchell, Mr. Brandon White, guest of Dennis Cole, Chris King, guest of Robert Ferguson, and of course, our news guest, Kenzie Centers with WTVY, and Aaron Dixon with WDHN. And also for the Tuesday Club, we have Gaylord Land, and also we have Mark O'Meara. Would you join me in giving our Rotarian?
Camp Askedar, Paul Swanson. How many points, Paul?
681.
681. All right. Yes.
I don't know why, but I want to get it wrong.
All right, the last four digits, 6942. Hey, right.
Good to see you.
John.
Good luck. Jace lives on. Thanks, Paul.
All right.
In the newsletter and also in the email I sent out to everyone, Rotary published a statement on the recent polio detections in the United States and also in Europe, and that those were not wild polio, but were from polio that came from vaccines that we don't use in America anymore. But it's a good read on that if you're interested. Dean Mitchell is going to introduce Davis Malone, who will introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce our friend Davis Malone. Davis is president and CEO of Mid-South Bank, also on the University of Alabama System Board of Trustees. And Davis, we so appreciate all you've done in our community and having the Chancellor join us today. So please come and welcome our special guest. Thank you very much.
carrying this water because it seems like it's hard to get where I'm able to speak. Sometimes it seems like you're running into a little bit of cough off and on, so I apologize to you folks. I'm very happy as I look out here and I see a lot of familiar faces. This is a good feeling, always to be in front of folks that you know, and anyway, I'm very appreciative of this. Great. I want to introduce you to Finis St. John IV. I know him as Fess. Those are his initials. He is the Chancellor of the University of Alabama System. And in this particular capacity, he is the Chief Executive Officer of the Alabama's largest employer and Alabama's largest higher education system. And it is comprised of the UAB Health System, the University of Alabama, the University of Alabama in Birmingham, and the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Prior to becoming Chancellor in 2018, Fess served as trustee on the University of Alabama Board of Trustees. And in that capacity, he served as pro tem and served on a number, if not probably all of the committees that we have. And also was very influential in the recruitment of the senior campus administration that we have at the various campuses. Recognized nationally for his leadership roles in higher education, Fess understands the essential value of the rigorous and high demand degree programs that prepare our students for their future life. And during COVID, I want you to know this, he spearheaded a comprehensive safety and health program that enabled the successful reopening of the system that also became the model for other campuses, universities, corporations, and other nonprofit organizations. Fess, I'm sorry about this. Fess previously was a lifelong resident of Coleman, Alabama, and a member of one of the oldest law firms in the state, St. John and St. John, and was also recognized as a member of the Alabama College of Trial Lawyers. He is a University of Alabama and a University of Virginia School of Law alum, as has been his family's long and distinguished history. Fess, as the Chancellor at Alabama, is continuing the public service that his family has been known for. And with that, I want to introduce to you Fess St. John, Chancellor of the State of the University of Alabama System.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be here. It's always an honor to represent the University of Alabama System. Talk about some of the things we're doing and hopefully about our aspirations to do more in the future. It's also great to be here in Dothan, to be in the Wiregrass. You know, I grew up in Coleman, which is almost at the other end of the state, and the hills and valleys up there, and to hear about an area in Alabama called the Wiregrass, which always seemed like an exotic and intriguing place. So I've always enjoyed and coming down here. It looks so different, the terrain. I can tell you there are some farmers up in Coleman that would be very jealous of these big flat fields you have to try to grow the crops. But coming in today, I was glad to see a few chicken houses make me feel right at home in this area. Davis has given you a little bit of a description, but I'd like to start by trying to describe a little bit about what the University of Alabama system is, and then a little bit about what we do, and then some of the things that are done that impacts this area specifically. As Davis mentioned, the system is composed of 4 entities, 3 research, comprehensive, doctoral universities. The University of Alabama, which is in Tuscaloosa, UAB in Birmingham, and UAH in Huntsville, as well as the UAB Health System. The system educates over 70,000 students. It's the largest employer in the state with over 45,000 employees. And we have 40,000 of our students are from the state of Alabama. Last year, the system conferred over 18,000 degrees to our graduates. The UAB Health System is the 4th largest academic medical center in the United States, and the hospital is the 9th largest hospital in the United States. It has over 1,100 beds. They treat almost 2 million patients a year at UAB, and last year received and executed $800 million worth of funded research. UAB Health System is a national leader in genomics and telehealth, both of which are the future of how healthcare will be delivered to our people, and it's also a leader in rural healthcare. It affiliates with hospitals around the state and provides doctors and nurses and expertise to all citizens around the state of Alabama. To talk a little bit about some of the specific things that our system does in this area, I asked our researchers to tell me, and there are over 700 students from the Dothan area currently enrolled in the University of Alabama System universities. The University of Alabama, the capstone in Tuscaloosa, in the past 5 years has provided business development assistance to 600 businesses in this area, and has provided international trade assistance to several of the companies in this area. UA provided distance learning to over 900 students in the last year through the Access program. They provide technical support to area schools for online learning, continuing education for legal and other professions, and has a program that trains area professionals on how to write and obtain grants. UAH, way up in Huntsville, even has a presence here. They are on the cutting edge program that prepares students for successful opportunities in cybersecurity and the engineering fields. They've partnered with the LeBlanc Foundation in this area as one of the Succeed partners. And UAB Medicine provides healthcare to citizens in every county in the state. In Dothan, UAB provides physicians on site at Southeast Health and in the areas of transplant surgery, pediatric cardiology, and pediatric gastroenterology. UAB Hospital averages 9,200 discharges to people from this area every year, including over 500 related to transplants and over 1,400 related to cancer treatment. One thing that we've announced in the last year is a dental clinic that UAB will open in this area in the very near future. I didn't know this, but there's a national shortage of dentists. It's particularly acute in Alabama and particularly acute in this area. There are only 1.4, now these are statistics, but there are only 1.4 dentists per 10,000 students in this area. The national average is 6. So well underfunded or well understaffed for an area, and it's an area of great need. UAB has the only dentistry school in the state, and they are opening a clinic here that will provide 10,000 patient visits per year. We look forward to that partnership with this area at UAB. And this year, I can't mention UAB without talking about a gift that and a donation made by one of your citizens here in Dothan in recent years, and that's Dr. Piercing. He gave a gift so significant that it resulted in the renaming of the UAB School of Medicine to the UAB Piercing School of Medicine. I'm sorry I don't see him here to be able to thank him again. You probably think I wouldn't be a very smart chancellor if I didn't thank someone who gave us $95 million in donation. But and you'd be right, but the reason that he gave it is what is so admirable to me. He wanted to make a contribution that would affect the most people for the longest amount of time. He had many options, and he chose UAB School of Medicine. And I think he made the right choice, and we will do everything we can to deserve the confidence that he has placed in us. So that's a broad description about what the system is. It's organized with a system office with a chancellor and a new number of vice chancellors and staff. We have a legal department with a general counsel and almost a small operating law firm of 25 lawyers. It'd be a large firm in Dothan, probably be pretty big.
Very large enough.
Yeah, probably be pretty big in Dothan too. We've got 3 universities, 3 presidents, 3 sets of vice presidents, 3 sets of staffs. We have 3 faculties on each of these campuses, made up of teachers and researchers, 3 student bodies, 3 campuses, a nearly $7 billion budget, 3 buildings and grounds departments, hospital with thousands of nurses and doctors, 3 athletic departments, 3 Greek systems, 3 police departments, colleges and departments offering comprehensive educational opportunities to students from all over. We have students from every county in the state, from every state in the United States, and from more countries than I could ever even count. So, you know, what could go wrong with all that? I can tell you that something goes wrong almost every single day. And you might wonder who's ultimately responsible for this enterprise of these universities and all these people, all these things that you're trying to do. And the answer to that is in the Alabama Constitution. The Alabama Constitution puts the control and management of the university system in the hands of the Board of Trustees. And our Board of Trustees, the governance structure of the University of Alabama system is unique in a couple of ways. First, it is unique in that the Constitution says that the full management and control of the system is in the hand of the Board of Trustees. So in most states, if a university wants to build a building or start a program or something like that, they may have to go through the legislature, or they might have to go through a commission, or they might have to go through the government. But in Alabama, that responsibility is vested in the Board of Trustees, and it is a heavy responsibility. So if the university wants to build a building or issue bonds or hire a chancellor or fire a chancellor or hire a president or an AD or a football coach, it is solely their responsibility. And that means that they sometimes can be criticized for those decisions, but for the most part, they have historically exercised that responsibility incredibly well. The other part that's unique about the governance of our system is that the board selects its own members. I don't know of another major university system where that happens. So what that means is that the board, when there's a vacancy, selects a replacement. This has been true for over 100 years. Now, those people chosen by the trustees must be confirmed by the Senate. But unlike most states, it is largely removed from politics. In most states, the process is extremely political. So you have a governor who's elected, and he wants his supporters and people like-minded like him on the Board of Trustees. They may fight with the last group of trustees that were selected by the prior governor. Some trustees in some states run for office, just like legislature or a governor. And so while our system and our board is deeply involved in the political world and the political process, they are able to choose people for the right reasons. They choose talented people, people who care about the state and care about the university. And I believe that this has served us very well. I think everybody here probably knows, and everybody in Dothan probably knows, that Davis Malone is a member of the University Board of Trustees. What people probably don't know is just how much work is involved in that and what a heavy responsibility it is. So it's a voluntary, unpaid position, but it consumes many, many hours of every week, month, and year to do the job responsibly the way Davis does. So we have board meetings several times a year, and the materials that we send out, trustees have to be familiar with to attend those meetings. It doesn't come in envelopes. It comes in boxes. And this happens over and over again. Our campuses are in Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, and Huntsville. Now, I myself have never driven from Dothan to Huntsville. But Davis has many times, and I know it's a huge commitment of his time to do that. So anybody who is proud of any of the accomplishments of our universities or appreciates the healthcare that we have in Alabama that other states would give anything to have needs to appreciate the work and the leadership and the judgment of people we have on our board, and like my friend Davis Malone. So I hope this has been something of an overview. I would like to summarize by trying to describe what we consider our mission to be. If you drive onto the University of Alabama campus at the edge, the border of the campus, and this is by the stadium, there's a brand new, or at least new there, gigantic statue of an elephant. And the elephant's name is Tuska, and it got moved somewhere else, and it's huge. But in front of it is a monument that has been there for many decades, and on the monument are 3 words that describe what our mission is. It's teaching, research, and service. So that's what distinguishes a public university like the University of Alabama and our 3 campuses from every other institution. Everybody understands the teaching function. You know, teaching students is what we do for that student so that they can become a productive member of society, go home, hopefully go home to their communities and improve the state and improve their communities and lead productive lives for their benefit. But the research and the service and service are things that we give back to the state. We are state supported. Every taxpayer in the state supports the University of Alabama system. So to deserve that support, it's not simply about educating students so that they can go be prosperous and productive, but the research that is done, and it is across the spectrum of things that are important to not only the current lives of our citizens, but the future. Aerospace and engineering and technology, medicine, every field of the care of human patients and how they will be treated in the future. Water, a commodity that is becoming more and more precious every day, whether you have not enough of it or too much of it. The university is on the cutting edge of that. Battery technology for vehicles and the transformation of the transportation world. So those are the kind of things that we work on every day with these brilliant researchers. And it can only happen because they've been collected on our university campuses. These minds can come together, supported by the state to return service to the state. So I'm very proud to be affiliated with the University of Alabama system. We have a set of core principles, and the first one really summarizes to me why we do what we do, and it's very similar to the same reason that you're here and the reason that you're in the Rotary Club, and that's service to the state. But we say that we want to assure that everything we do is for the purpose of improving the lives and health of the citizens of the state of Alabama. We try to do that every day. It's why we're inspired to have the jobs and do the work that we do. We know we make mistakes. We hear from people when we make mistakes, and we want to. And so I want to invite you, if you see something that we can do better or do differently or that we need to know, call me. Call David. Well, Davis may not want you. If you call Davis, he'll just tell you to call. Do that. But please let us know if you see things that we can do better. Because the salt shaker had hit me in the back of the head, I guess I had not gone over time, but I would be more than happy to answer any questions if I'm able to, if you would like, about anything that's going on any of our campuses. Yes, sir.
I would just like to mention the Henry Houston
alumni chapter here in Wiregrass has the second most endowments of any alumni chapter in the United States. We're very proud of that. But what I'd also like to ask is, how many dollars are given annually in scholarships through the three campuses?
That is, I wish I knew the answer to that, but it is millions. Most students receive some form of financial aid. Some students receive their entire education through financial aid. Some of it's based on merit to enhance the experience and the reputation and the prestige of the university, but much of it is based on merit. If I ever give another one of these talks, I need to know the answer to that question, because I know it's a lot. We'll find out. Yes, sir.
Would you expand or expound on the loan forgiveness for student loans that people in Washington are talking about passing out? I'm not trying to be controversial. I just
No, sir.
won't think somebody smarter than me could explain it to me where I could understand the rhyme and reason behind it.
That's a high bar to explain that in a way. I would say that from the university standpoint, it really doesn't matter, because we've already received that tuition. So the money that they're talking about forgiving was borrowed either from the government or some other entity or institution that loaned them the money to pay us. Well, we got to pay.
School's not losing.
School is not losing. School is not losing. Now, there are other political proposals that you hear out there about tuition and things like that that would affect us, but the student loans doesn't affect us. That affects those people and then those groups that loan them the money, a lot of which was federally backed. So I think the federal government's giving up the right to receive most of the money that they loaned out. But it doesn't really impact our university's budget in any way. Yes, sir.
The campus and the enrollment have really grown a lot in the past 10 to 15 years. Where do you see all that, I'd say 2030?
That's a good question. This is the kind of thing that we think about and we talk about all the time. There is a phenomenon coming, I am told, called the demographic cliff. And so what happened in the financial crisis of 2008, people stopped having children in as many numbers. And so that's not just Alabama, although it's true in Alabama, but around the country that occurred. And so if you look at the group of students that are approaching college age, we're about to hit a point where there just aren't as many of them. The high schools, college-ready students in Alabama have been flat for several years, not going up. So for universities to grow, they either have to take them away from somebody else or have students from out of state. Now, we get criticized by some people for having so many out-of-state students, but I think those people are short-sighted, because what our businesses need, the most precious commodity that we're lacking, is people. And so we need people from other states to fill the jobs that we're creating by attracting these great national and international and locally grown businesses. So we need those people, but we need them to come, we need them to stay. But that's a long way, a little bit off the subject of what you asked. But I do not see tremendous growth in the future in the size of the student body. I think Huntsville has a chance to grow significantly. It's a little under 10,000 students now, but Huntsville is exploding in size and has a great need. Every one of those STEM and tech and engineering and aerospace students gets a job the minute they graduate. So I think Huntsville has a chance to grow significantly, UAB somewhat, but I think the University of Alabama is within a few percent of as big as it needs to be. It's doubled since we started doing this 15, 20 years ago. It's not going to double again, in my opinion.
How about a Dothan campus?
Well, we're starting a dental facility down here, but, you know, that's another interesting topic. The way UAB and UAH were started, they were extensions back in the 60s. The other extension was in Mobile. In 1969, the campuses at Huntsville and Birmingham became their own university. But before that, there'd been some disagreement with the people doing the one in Mobile, and it went its own way, or it would have been a part of the University of Alabama system. A lot of people think it should have been. A lot of people think it should be now. But I think, you know, if you go back to our core principles, we're trying to serve the state in the best way that we can, and nothing like that should be off the table as far as I'm concerned. Yes, sir.
What percentage of your students are from out of state?
That's different on each of the three campuses. At the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, it's about half. In Birmingham, it's about 20%. Same in Huntsville. So much more of a presence in Tuscaloosa than anywhere else. Now, there's pluses and minuses to that. To me, the pluses outweigh the minuses. The pluses are it broadens the educational experience for the people who are there. It is a way for us to attract and hopefully retain talented people here, but it's a financial windfall because out-of-state tuition is about 3 times what in-state tuition is. So out-of-state tuition has allowed us to keep in-state tuition flat. We didn't raise in-state tuition in our system for 5 years. This year we had a small increase because of the impact that inflation is having and how difficult it is to keep people retained in their jobs. So small increase this year, but before that, no tuition for 5 years in-state students, and that largely is because of the contributions that the out-of-state students have made.
I want to add one thing. You know, the other thing about that is, and it has been mentioned earlier today, that we're bringing all these businesses to Alabama. We're wanting to grow that. Well, if we don't bring additional people into the state, we've got no way of keeping up with what it takes from an employment standpoint, because what will happen is you take it from the existing business. So if we want to do anything, we've got to bring additional people in, and that's one of the things that this will do. It has been doing to a certain degree. I hope we can do a much better job overall as and bring these folks in here to be a part of all these new businesses and to anyway shape the overall employment of the state.
I'm surprised nobody's asked me. I guess y'all haven't heard there's a sports athletic season that starts. I've been your Georgia friend up here has been very nice all day. So if you need tickets to any game, they just be glad to take. All right, if not any other questions, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dean Davis and Bess. Very interesting. Next week's program, Labor Day. No program. I want to thank our guests for coming. My sweet wife, and didn't mention that earlier. All our visiting Rotarians. If you would, let's stand and recite the 4-way test. Of the things we think, do, or say, is this the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.